Okay, so I just want to go over a few things about drapery before you guys get going on your chairs with some kind of blanket or sheet going over them. It's easier for me to do this on a smaller scale, so we can pretend that this is a chair, but I'm gonna have this point, we're gonna have this area here where the box meets the other box, the back corners, and this whole side right here that the drapery is gonna come down from these points, and we're gonna see that. So that's why it's important for you to understand what your chair skeleton kind of feels like before you get going on the drapery. So I'm using a t-shirt because it's nice and soft. Okay, cool. So the first thing that you want to do is, and I know this completely obliterated the form, but that's okay. Yours will be much simpler than this. You really want to identify the shape. So I'm gonna look here, down, this comes back a little bit, right? We're gonna look at this shape down along the bottom. Maybe I pretend that this isn't there because it's a chair. But we have these corners, and you can still see the exact corners of where that box is. You can see that I tucked this in a little bit right here. I could even adjust my fabric a little bit so you can see this point even better. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna identify my areas of really dark shadow. So first, the outline, yes, we got the outline. Visually, I'm gonna find these areas of really dark shadow. This is everywhere that the light isn't really gonna hit, and there's gonna be a lot of them. So it's not just like wrapping around one little form. So the next thing I'm gonna draw in after my outline shape is all of these like really high contrast folds. So this one, obviously this big swoop right here, this one that comes down from the corner, I can even make this line to show where the edge of the box is. This has a highlight. This little bit right here, if I was gonna go way back deep, I would definitely want to get this and this little ripple or this ridge of fabric right here. If you wanted to include the whole thing, go ahead and outline all of these really hard lines that are happening everywhere else. The next thing you want to do is you want to kind of find shapes. You want to find shapes of shadow and shapes of light. So from here, we have this, obviously, straight, kind of almost horizontal line that comes down, and then it gets a little weird. So it's almost like a kind of sloping triangle in a way, but then it gets interrupted here. But I can put in this big shape. I can put in that this is a sort of triangle over here too. But then I want to acknowledge as well, like this little bit of rippled highlight, this little bit, how this shadow falls in right there, this shadow right here. So you're not breaking it down necessarily just by where the folds and the ripples are, but you want to look at shape. So find the shape of the shadow, find the shape of the highlight, and kind of block that out. You have to stop thinking about it as fabric over an object and more so about just shapes that you're looking at. So this little tiny area of shadow would be its own shape. When we get back here, this whole section could be its own shape, and then we break it down even further to just this shadow, just this little edge highlight, just this highlight. What I'm gonna do when I really start putting in my value, I want to put in this really, really dark shadow right in here. And then this one that's right below it. This is also super dark. This is super dark. And when you block in those really dark blacks, it's gonna make you evaluate the rest of the value in the whole object against it. Then you can start kind of blending things out. You don't want to make super hard lines. I would suggest kind of doing a gray value everywhere so that you can come back and pull out these highlights. I think that could be really helpful. I am going to do a time-lapse drawing as well for you guys with some notes, so hopefully this helps a little bit, and happy drapery.